There we go. There we go. Welcome in. I am the Sam D. I'm your host. Pulling up because, man, we got to get into the Dallas Mavericks have made a move. How big of a move has yet to be determined, but the Dallas Mavericks have made a move. Kyrie Irving on the move from the Brooklyn Nets to the Dallas Mavericks. Humongous trade. Some would say blockbuster trade. But is it really? That's what we're going to get into on this live stream. As I'm just checking in, I host a podcast. It's called the Sam D Podcast. Link is in the description down there if you want to check it out. And I talk all sports, but mainly specifically about the NBA. And this move has shook up the timeline. The TL has gone crazy, and there's been a lot of rumors, a lot of innuendo, a lot of subliminals that have been sent out. We're not going to talk about Ja and whether he or his peoples pointed a gun with a red beam on it. That'll be safe for the podcast episode later on in the week. But today, the pressing issue is Kyrie Irving to the Mavericks. Luka Doncic, the king of the usage rate. He's led the league 2 years in a row in usage rate. Now they bring in another ball-dominant guard to play alongside him. Does that make sense? Let me know in the comments. Can Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving actually work? Is this something that makes basketball sense? Or is this just keep away from the Lake Show? Yeah, I said it. Is this collusion in the National Basketball Association to keep LeBron in them, AD in them, Genie in them, Pelinka in them, Rich Paul in them, away from getting someone who clearly, as Shams Charania reported, wanted to be in LA? Kyrie wanted to reunite with Big Bro and LeBron James, and they wanted to make that happen. And they were willing to part with the picks. Lake Show, how do you feel? Y'all been clamoring on the timeline about they better be ready to give up them picks. They better not hoard them picks. They offered those picks, and the Nets still said no. Joe Tsai grew some nuts. He did. He grew a pair, and he said no to Pelinka, no to Rich Paul, no to LeBron. These are the things I want to get into. These are the things I want to talk about on this live stream. There is a lot to be made here because this, to me, is persona non grata, a salvo of like, no, LeBron, not this time. The league has tried to do this before. Remember when AD was still a Pelican? There was a lot of stuff to try to stop the Pels. Dell Demps was touted throughout the league for saying no initially to the Lakers in all their attempts to try to trade for AD. Then David Griffin pulls up after they get rid of Dell Demps. David Griffin pulls up and takes a lesser deal than what was originally offered that was turned down by Dell Demps. And then AD becomes a Laker. And then the narrative became not that the Lakers got AD. It was, oh, the Pelicans fleeced the Lake Show. Huh? That was a thing that really happened. I remember. Even if you don't, I remember. So here we go again where LeBron wants a piece. LeBron is doing LeBron things behind the scenes. We know how he operates. We know how Clutch operates. And it seemed to be the worst kept secret in the world that the Lakers were going to get Kyrie Irving. Most of the group chats I was in from people that are in the know, it was more or less a foregone conclusion that at some point, somehow, some way, Kyrie was going to end up in LA. And the funny thing is, he still may. Maybe not just right now, because he did not sign an extension. He did not sign an extension. This is a rental for the Dallas Mavericks. This is a high-risk, high-reward move because it didn't work. They tried with Kristaps Porzingis, Latvian world star. They tried with Jalen Brunson. They couldn't re-sign him. Now they're trying again, another star, probably the best star up to this point, that they've aligned next to Luka to see how far this Mavericks thing can roll. What does this look like from a basketball standpoint? The news itself is fine because the trade to me is meh. The Mavericks give up a first rounder, a couple of second rounders, and, Dinwiddie, Dorian Finney-Smith, and they get back Kyrie Irving. And don't forget Morris twin. Morris twin was in this deal as well, forgotten piece. But the fact of the matter is that this package that the Mavericks gave up doesn't really add up to the Lake Show one. Because you talk about 2 first-rounders that the Lakers were finally willing to give up, as well as Westbrook, and then the Mavericks apparently spun the block and wanted more. Christie, maybe even Scottie Pippen Jr., just a bunch of pieces. This is what they wanted. And now you're looking at it as, wow, but they just got a couple of picks, a couple of second-rounders, and a first? Spencer Dinwiddie and Dorian Finney-Smith, that's what you're going to get from a guy that's damn near going to be starting in the All-Star game? That's all it takes to get him? But because of everything else that comes with Kyrie, all the baggage on and off the court, that's why that package is that low. Pause. So this is what we're going to get into. 1, are the Mavericks for real now? I think let's go to the Shams tweet. We like to pull up the screen share here, and I like to let y'all see what I'm looking at. The screen share here, obviously we see this here. Kyrie Irving is now a Dallas Maverick. We get that. And wasn't there a tweet in regards to yes, following the trade? Boom. Let's bring this up even. Yep, there we go. So the Mavericks have moved from plus 1,900 to plus 1,400. In case you can't see that here. That's what they have moved into. Are they really a championship contender even with Kyrie? Now, if this move predicates another move or predates another move, then sure. Maybe, depending on what that move is. And Christian Wood's available. If you're looking for a big who can get buckets, stretch the floor, Christian Wood is available. So who wants Christian Wood? And what are you willing to give up for Christian Wood? So there's that, right? And we have a whole bunch of moves. We have your man's the point fraud. The Suns are expected to be incredibly active over the next several days to add to their roster. Phoenix wants to build around Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, Mikal Bridges, and Cam Johnson. But quote, unquote, the future of the point fraud is uncertain. Oh, let that man get traded. Let that fraudulent man of a point guard get traded. Let that leader of men, coach on the floor, get traded. I am here for it. And then we have all the reaction. This is what we're going to be breaking down. Ben Simmons has no trade value around the NBA right now. Allegedly. No trade value. We have all the hype around the Mavs going all in. And now, here comes LeBron. Now, LeBron's not talking about the trade or anything. And if you look at LeBron's tweets, he definitely has been talking about it, but we'll get there. Now, we won't give a Legion. Legion kind of just aggregates in a different way. The Nets did not hear from the Lakers on Sunday. Now, here's why that's the thing. Because I mentioned how the Lake Show offered Russie and the 2 first-round picks, 2027, 2029. And the Nets spun the block and said, we want more. We want the youngins too. Austin Reeves, Christie, and Scottie Pippen Jr. Allegedly, right? And the Lakers just simply never call back. Now, if you're the Lakers, you know you're trying to win, not now, but right now. LeBron's out here chasing Kareem down, may or may not break the record in his next game. A lot of hype, a lot of fanfare. AD is back. He looks to be playing at a high level. This team can hit the ground running because, again, the Western Conference, as I've been mentioning on the D70 podcast for the entire season, is not that great in terms of no one is running away and hiding. So let's go ahead and pull up these standings and look at what we have here. Because if you look at it, let me blow this up here, pause. The screen will cooperate. The screen doesn't want to cooperate. All right, we'll fall back. Do that there. Move that there. And okay. Zoom all the way out. All right, so now between these games, you have, so you can see here, so you're not getting blocked off. Okay, so the Nuggets have 17 losses. 10 games in the loss column separate 1 and 9. And actually, no, 1 and 12. Only 10 games in the loss column, of which the Lakers are 12 games behind in the loss column. But because of all this tightness, pause, between 2 and 12, there's a lot of ground that could be made up very quickly if you get hot, if you go on a stretch and win 8 out of 10, if you go on a stretch and win 10 out of 12, even 7 out of 10. If you can pull a 70% clip over a good stretch of the next couple of months here, you can make up a lot of ground quick, fast, in a hurry. And that's why if you're the Lakers, are you really not going to give up Austin Reeves, Max Christie, who's played well, Scottie Pippen Jr., who flashed in Summer League, and, Austin Reeves is a linchpin of the bench mob. Are you really not going to give all of that up to win now? You know how LeBron wins his chips. He wins his chips with star-studded lineups. He's never done it without one, right? So I don't know how you can justify not giving up those 2 picks that you can always spin the block on and go collect more picks from other teams down the road. It's not like we need to hang on to our own pick like that holds more value. You can flip picks all the time. Anyway, if you really get into the fact of should the Lakers have done this, I think the Lakers should have done this. I don't know who else is out there that can be the equivalent of the impact of a Kyrie Irving. I don't know who's on the market that you can give up for just Russie and 2 first-round picks that has the ceiling, that has the value of a Kyrie Irving. I don't know if that player exists right now in the league. Who can you tell me? Tell me in the comments. Let me know who out there has the value and can impact the team like Kyrie Irving can when he's right, when he's playing the way that he's supposed to play, when he's focused and locked in and all of that. Who in this league can you get for 2 first-round picks so far in the future and an expiring contract for that high level of a player? It ain't Siakam. It ain't OG Anunoby. Who else are you bringing in here? It ain't even Christian Wood. I don't know who you're bringing in here for Russie and 2 first-round picks that can give you the same return like a Kyrie Irving. So if I'm the Lake Show and I'm seeing all this logjam, Steph is hurt again. Steph is hurt again. So there's going to be movement in the West. There's going to be a lot of movement. That's why the Mavs do this. The Mavs are 6th. You can't let the Nuggets run away and hide. You can't let especially now that Jamal Murray is cooking. Jamal Murray is cooking now. So now it's not just a Jokic show where the analytics dudes can go crazy every game. Now Jamal Murray is starting to cook up. Bones Highland, he's available. Just saying. But anyway, you can't let Denver run away and hide. So you need to be able to keep pace to make sure to close that gap and at least try to lock in the 2 seed. Because look at this West right now. This West is wide open, bro. If you're really looking at it from a sense of, if you're a 6 seed and you're the Dallas Mavericks, you bring in Kyrie Irving, you are immediately, I would say, on paper, better than the Kings, even though we like the beam here. We don't hate, we like the beam. The Grizz, I don't know if they're better than the Grizz on paper. If Kawhi keeps playing like Kawhi, I don't know if they're better than them. But you're certainly better than the point fraud and the Suns. Luka and Kyrie, if J-Kid can figure this out, they're better than the Suns. They'll open up a gap between themselves and the T-Wolves, the Doves, especially when those Steph. The Pels are still trying to get Zion worked back into the mix. The Jazz have fallen back down to earth. Is Dame available? And here's the funny thing with trying to keep up with Lake Show and their fans is that they oftentimes move from one star to the next star. Oh, we can't get this star. Oh, we'll just go get this star. It was Kyrie. Then it was, oh, we didn't get Kyrie. All right, well, we'll just go get Dame. Like, it's that easy. It's just, we know we are going to get a star. That's the type of confidence that fan base always seems to have. And it's hilarious to me because I don't know how you're going to get, if you're not willing to give up the 2 first-round picks and the youngins for Kyrie, I would hope you would do it for Dame. But here's the thing. That still might not be enough for Dame. That might not even be enough for Dame. So if you're not willing to do it for Kyrie, who are you willing to do it for? Who are you willing to give up Austin Reeves, Christie, Scottie Pippen Jr., 2 first-round picks, and Russie for? That's potentially, what's that, 6 players? 6 potential players? Who are you willing to give up 6 players for? If not Kyrie Irving, then who? And if you're the Mavericks, obviously it's a win-now move, it's a rental move, and it's going to be interesting to see how this team has not been good defensively, and they got worse in this deal. Jason Kidd, who has been able to make his teams improve defensively, that has not worked with this team. Christian Wood, who couldn't start for the majority of the year, he's not a defensive player. He's a bucket. He was put on this earth to get buckets, so he goes and does exactly that, get buckets. Now you're adding in Kyrie, who, he's not trash defensively, but he certainly doesn't focus on defense. He doesn't focus. He doesn't prioritize defense. He knows what he is. He knows what his skill set is, and he maximizes that to the most of his potential. And then we know what Luka is. We know Luka is not. Look, their defensive rating is 24th out of 30. Bottom half of the league. Damn near the bottom of the league. Now, the offensive rating is top 10. We see here that they're ninth in offensive rating. But in terms of defensive rating, and look at the pace. I spoke about this on my podcast, the D-Sandy podcast, about a month or so ago, about how because they're so predicated on Luka walking up the rock and every possession has to begin and usually end with Luka, their pace is horrifically slow. And they have been at the bottom, or right now, next to the bottom, the entire year. Their pace is the slowest in the entire league. Does this change now with Kyrie? We know Kyrie likes to run. He likes to get up and down. But if he's going into this saying, no, dogs, it's still your team, that means you're going to be waiting for Luka to walk it up. And I think the main thing, if you're Dallas, is this move is to prevent what normally happens come playoff time. What normally happens come playoff time is that Luka goes crazy in the first round for the first couple of games, and then usually tires out or gets beat up because of all the attention focused on him, and then he starts pulling injuries. It's happened against the Clippers a bunch. That's normally how that goes. Now, they struck gold last year with Brunson because they were able to stagger the minutes, and that's something where J. Kidd's going to have to do some of that, because I don't know if you can play Kyrie and Luka a lot at the same time. I just don't know, because I don't know if they could do the whole thing of taking turns basketball. Not a lot of players can do that. Like, Kyrie hasn't been able to do that at times. The Nets were, 18-2 over the last couple of games when it was him and KD on the floor. So clearly they can do that. And he's done it with LeBron, clearly. They got that chip. But in Boston, that didn't work. Damn sure didn't work in Boston. Maybe it was too many guys to take turns from, because Tatum and Brown were trying to get theirs, and they still had Gordon Hayward as well. So maybe there was just too many guys to take turns with. If it's just Kyrie and one other dude, maybe it could work. But just something with Luka being so ball dominant, the usage rate is through the roof. He truly is. I've coined the phrase Slovenian Harden on my podcast, because he's putting up usage rates that we haven't seen since Harden at his peak, when people were saying it was some of the most boring, annoying, slow, selfish basketball. Luka's doing the same exact thing, yet people are saying this is generational talent, this is MVP stuff, he's top 5 and all of this. I'm like, this is Harden. It's the same thing Harden was doing. It's the same thing Harden was being destroyed about. Even when he got to the MVP, even when he got tricked off the year prior to that when he won the MVP, when it was Russie who got the MVP, both those years you could argue, based off his numbers, he should have won MVP. And Luka's doing the same thing, slowing the game down, ball dominant. No star can play with him. It was the same thing with the beard. It was Dwight Howard's fault. It was Kevin McHale's fault. It was the point fraud's fault. It was everyone's fault except the beard. Now we're getting to, it's going to be the case soon. If this becomes a rental, if this Kyrie thing becomes a rental with the Mavs, it's going to become the same thing again, where it was Rick Carlisle's fault. It was the front office fault. It was Kristaps Porzingis, a.k.a. the Latvian World Star's fault. It was Jalen Brunson's fault. Now, potentially, playing it forward, it could be Kyrie Irving's fault. When is it ever going to be Luka Doncic's fault? When does the onus ever fall on him? Let me know. Let's get deeper into these rumors here. So if you're a Lake Show fan, Lakers' plan B options are the Raptors and the Jazz. So now you're looking at Mike Conley and Siakam. I don't like either of those as much as I would have liked Kyrie if I'm a Lake Show fan. Because Siakam, I don't trust him to be that type of, well, you're asking him to be a third. Can Siakam be a third? That's an interesting question. Can Pascal Siakam be a third option if you're the Lake Show? Would you depend on that? He has not looked as good as in prior years. Let's look up Siakam's numbers. Let's look up Pascal Siakam. Let's get this to activate. Pascal Siakam. Shout out to home team Cameroon. Now, the numbers will impress you, but we don't get fooled by numbers here because we actually watch games. So, when you're looking at three-point percentage is down and his attempts are way up. That's not what you want to see. You don't want to see a guy that's jacking it up more, but he's making them at a worse clip. You don't want to see that. Shooting percentage has dipped. Watching him, it seems as though he's trying to figure out if he's the lead dog every night. Because he's got Van Vliet. Scotty Barnes is up and coming. Some are questioning whether he has improved. I'm not one of those. Scotty Barnes is going to be the future face of that franchise, assuming he's not involved in any of these deals over the next year or two. But Pascal Siakam is kind of in no man's land where Van Vliet got the bag. Scotty Barnes is clearly up next. So what is Siakam? He's always in trade rumors. It's almost like the Raptors treat him like the Hawks treat John Collins. John Collins is forever in trade reports and trade rumors, and Siakam's the same way. And Siakam is a way better and way more important player to his team than John Collins is to his. Yet and still, every year, every summer, every trade deadline, Pascal Siakam is in the news. And Mike Conley for the Lake Show, if you're that desperate for a point guard, is Mike Conley really the answer there? I don't know if that's the answer if I'm them. And you know, the scammer them they are, Danny Ainge. I'm not giving up no picks for no Mike Conley, not no first round picks. Nope, you're going to take this Westbrook. You're going to take this Westbrook. I might give you one of the two, but you're not getting both. You are not getting both. No way. No way. If it's that desperate that the Lake Show has to give up those types of picks to Mike Conley, who, as you see here, isn't even playing that well, like this is not someone you give up a first round pick for, even if it is 4, 5, 6 years from now. I don't think this is enough. And you're trying to get shooting. You want to surround LeBron with shooting. Mike Conley is not that. Kyrie, as much as you can like chide him for what he does on the court, you can talk about his selfishness and his own usage rate and how crazy that could be. But you're not going to tell me Kyrie ain't no shooter. His percentage has dipped a little this year, but this is a guy who has been touching 40% since before threes became a thing. 40% in 2015. Okay? 40% in 2015. Damn near 40% as a rook. So Kyrie could always chuck it. 39% for his career. Okay, so Kyrie is a shooter. That's why, again, why didn't they want to give up those youngins? The whole thing is to surround LeBron with shooters. Those options from this tweet about it being the Raptors and the Jazz, let's go ahead and see if we can find out who these players are, because I don't know who these players are. Because who are these shooters? Both teams have been linked. I mean, let's go and do the whole Jared Vanderbilt, Malik Beasley. Beasley could shoot, I guess. The Raptors. Okay, Van Vliet. They say maybe Van Vliet and Gary Trent. Okay. Again, are you giving up picks for that? Are you giving up those first-round picks for Malik Beasley and Conley or Gary Trent? Now, Van Vliet, you're probably going to have to give up a pick. Van Vliet, you have to give up a pick. But how does Van Vliet? I don't like that fit. It's a lot of weird pieces that are available that I don't know if those pieces actually work if I'm the Lake Show. Because Rui is a good piece. I like that deal a lot. And I think that will be a piece that will pay off come playoff time. I'm sold on Rui. Have been. Always liked his game. Now, he's not a defender. Maybe once he gets there with Phil Handy for a few weeks and he gets kind of under control, they can kind of like tone him up in regards to his defensive prowess. But in regards to anything else, he's a bucket. He's a bucket. He's a wing. He's a guy that can do that. Now, stuff like this is where we get the pushback. So the Lakers had serious concerns about Kyrie Irving professionalism and availability. You tell me that's why they didn't give up the 2 first-round picks? You telling me that's why? You telling me that's why? Come on, man. Come on, man. Like, stop. Like, I can understand you want to use that if you trade for him and then you don't want to extend him because he was looking for a 4-year extension off rip. So Kyrie was trying to get extended even before he got to his next destination. Like, agree to this in principle before I even get there. Not happening. No one's going to do that. But that's where now the spin is, well, we need to show that, we weren't really all in on Kyrie, especially now that we didn't get him. We had concerns about his professionalism. You didn't have concerns when it was just giving up Russie and them picks. When it was Russie and them picks, you didn't have concerns about his professionalism and his availability then, did you? Because why would Kyrie not be available if he's hooping with AD, LeBron, and even to a lesser extent, Rui every night? What availability concerns would Kyrie Irving have? There's none. So this is all spin. Like, this is where you have to cover your ass if you're Pelinka and, the Rambuses and whoever else is running that front office there. So this one to me is a funny one. The Nets wanted 3 first-round picks from the Suns after being offered Chris Paul, Jay Crowder, and a first-round pick. So this is the funny part. So the Suns hit up the Nets allegedly and like, all right, Kyrie on the block. All right, word. Here's what we got. We're going to give you the point fraud because he's a fraud. And we realize under this new ownership, like, yeah, we need to get this dude up out of here. And maybe even D-Book has given the green light to, yeah, go ahead and sayonara that dude. So we'll offer you the point fraud. Bossman 99, Jay Crowder has not played the whole year and he does not want to play. And we'll throw in a first-round pick. So we're going to give you a disgruntled player who hasn't played the entire year. We're going to give you the point fraud who is old as hell and makes a lot of money. And we'll throw in a first-round pick for a all-star starter right now. Yeah, and if I'm Brooklyn, I go back, all right, dogs, here's what you're going to give me if you really want me to entertain this. I want 3 of them things. 3 of them first-rounders. Don't just give me the point fraud and Bossman 99 and a pick. I want 3 of them. If you're really trying to unload all of your baggage for my one dude who is baggage, but he's still a hell of a hooper, he's the best player in this deal, no. The Nets just wanted to make sure they were not going to get fleeced, and he also wanted to make sure Kyrie Irving was not going to be sent directly from them anyway to the Lake Show. That's all that was about. Joseph Tsai grew a pair. Joseph Tsai was tired of all of the jokes, all of the reports of how weak he was, of how he acquiesced to Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. He was tired of it. Absolutely tired of it. And it's going to be interesting, and as you see it here, and it was confirmed, Mark Stein did a great job breaking this down over the weekend. Brooklyn Nets owner Joseph Tsai held a, quote, presumed objective, end quote, to trade Kyrie Irving, quote, somewhere other than the Lakers, ... his preferred destination. Yes, big shock, Kyrie wanted to go back home. And home is next to Bron. He thought home would be with his man's KD, and certainly that was a thing for a little bit, but nah. He wanted to be with the better player. And in a weird way right now, LeBron is a better player than Kevin Durant. I didn't think that coming into this year, but over the last couple of months, there's no way around it. Absolutely, positively no way around it. So this is what we're looking for. Appreciate you for checking in, Mark. Appreciate the sub. Thank you for checking out the content. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Shout out to Ireland. Celtics, we out here? Who's your squad, Mark? Let me know. So, I think one thing that we need to be careful of in this Kyrie thing is that as much as we see a lot going on with Kyrie Irving off the court, on the court, he's a difference maker. On the court, he's a guy that can, I mean, look, these stats aren't silly stats. These stats aren't for play. Look at what this guy is doing, even as a net, even in, I won't say part-time duty, but not even hardcore playing. Not even hardcore emphasizing I'm here night in, night out, even though he would tell you he was. 27, 5, and 5. 27, 5, and 5. That's something you're putting together. What's his usage rate? Let's see, because I already marked down Luka's usage rate. It's on my Twitter account on the Elon app. It was about 38%, 38.5, I think was his usage rate. Let's see if we can get, what's Kyrie's usage rate? We need to track this because this is where, if you're ball dominant, all right, 29.8. 29.8 is Kyrie's usage rate. It's interesting. He's always been around 20, high 20s, low 30s. Whereas, okay, so now 29.8, and let's go ahead to Luka. I already know this number, but let's go ahead. I'll show y'all. Luka, let's get this number. What's up, Mark? Okay. Big on Melo. Okay. Hey, look, this is a pro Melo channel. I will tell you that for sure. I think Melo and those Nuggets were so close. You only got stopped by Kobe. It took Kobe because that Melo team, that Nugget team that went to the Western Conference Finals, I really felt like that team could have got a chip. I felt Melo, that might have been, I mean, I think that's the furthest he's ever went, but that was Melo's only chance to really get a ring where he was the guy. Yeah, I salute Mark. I don't know about your squad right now this year, although Jamal Murray looks to be back looking like himself. And that makes y'all dangerous because y'all really have a 1-2 thing with Jokic and Jamal Murray. If you ever could get anything out of MPJ, and, you know, I don't know what y'all going to do with Bones, but I think the Nuggets right now sitting as the number 1 seed in the West, it's a pretty impressive team. And I think that's why Dallas makes this move. You cannot allow the Nuggets to run away and hide with this number 1 seed. So salute, Mark. I really appreciate you checking out the content. Definitely stay in and keep checking in because I love talking NBA. NBA is like my strong suit. So we'll be talking Nuggets, I'm sure, throughout May, maybe even into June. So stay locked in. Appreciate it. Let's see. Now, when we come to usage rate, there's no higher. Did I pass advanced? I think I passed advanced. Sorry for the scrolling, y'all. There we go. Advanced. Here we go. Usage rate, yep, 38.5. So Kyrie was 29, and your man's Luka is 38.5. This is where the problem can be because that's ball domination at a high level. I mentioned it earlier of how, you know, he led the league in usage rate 2 years in a row, and I'm pretty sure he's on the way to doing that 3 years in a row. Maybe now with this Kyrie, this might make that usage rate drop down if he actually gives the ball up to Kyrie. And I think that's where all of this comes to is like, will he give up the rock? Can Luka find a way to play off the ball? Because you can say they could both take turns running point. You can say that. That sounds great. I think in a video game, you can actually do that. In real life, it's a little different. In real life, egos are actually a thing you have to contend with. Like Luka, you would hope Luka at this point realizes, yo, I've been beat up in every playoff series. I get hurt in every playoff series. I usually miss time in playoff series. Maybe if I had a guy I could just give the ball to and take a couple of possessions off offensively instead of doing them defensively, maybe I can get my team further. Maybe that could be a thing. But it remains to be seen if Luka will actually do it. Kyrie is almost a perfect number 2. He could give you number 1 option stats, but he's the second dude. And there was some old heads online, and they were comparing this to Knicks tape back in the day, like way back, like Earl the Pearl and Clyde Frazier. Now, some of you youngins, that might be over your heads, but some of y'all that are of a certain generation, I know what I'm talking about. Like Clyde Frazier and Irving Pearl were both ball dominant point guards. They put them together. It took a little time for it to gel, but it eventually did work. So it's not like this has never happened before where two ball dominant guards have come together and they've had success. I mean, now that was about 50, damn near 60 years ago with Knicks tape, but we can go back and say that's a thing that actually happened. Earl the Pearl, Black Jesus, was actually able to coexist with Walt Clyde Frazier. Can this be the second coming of that, where you have a guy who's been leading the league in ball in usage rate almost 3 years in a row, and another guy who's always had a top tier high usage rate? Can they coexist in today's NBA? We're about to find out, and the West is about to find out. And I think that's the interesting part here, is that more times than not, when you're looking at usage rate, it's always predicated to those who have the ball in their hands a lot, right? That's the bare bones minimum of what it is. So remember those numbers. But let's look at Harden's usage rate when he was him. Let's go down to advanced. Harden's usage rate. Oh, this website's being nice to me today. I appreciate that. Get off that. Thank you. All right. Don't want to do that. Totals per 6 minutes. Bear with me. Here we go. All right. Usage rate. Look, it's a 40. Harden had a 40. So that's amazing, bro. 40. Yo. He led it 2 years in a row. Luka's about to do the same. But even at his peak, 36 his last year in Houston before everything went to hell. 36 the year before that, 34. So this is a guy that when he got to Houston, he really turned it up a notch and became him. The ball dominance went to astronomical levels. So these are very comparable to what Luka's doing. You're bringing in a who dominates the ball like that. Now you're bringing in Kyrie Irving. That's what you're going to bring in on top of that. It's going to be weird. It's going to get weird. It's going to get very weird. There's going to be some ugly games. It's going to be some weird possessions where they're both going to try to defer to each other. You know how that's going to work, right? We know how this is going to work. Both are going to try to defer to each other early on to make it look the part, to make it look like, all right, we're both trying to acquiesce to the other. But once the games get real, once it becomes late March, early April, and positioning is really a thing, seeding is really a thing, and you're not just concerned about, do I look good? It's like, yo, we need to get this win because we're trying to get home court. We're trying to get the 2 seed. Maybe even if the Nuggets take a stumble, maybe we're trying to get the 1 seed. Maybe we can chase them down. The key for all the teams in the West should be we're trying to run down the Nuggets. The Nuggets are sitting here 20 games over, and they're running away and hiding. And again, if you look at the numbers, their first offensive rating, clearly that's attributed to Jokic. And again, Jamal Murray. I've always been a big Jamal Murray guy because to me, as great as Jokic is, if he's just the only dude, we've seen how that has panned out. He needs that guy. And I think Jamal Murray is enough of a number 2. I would say they go, as always said, they go as far as Jamal Murray goes because Jokic is going to put up his numbers regardless of who's on the floor with him. But if Jamal Murray is playing like he did in the bubble, if he's on that top tier, trying to break into that top 5 shooting guard list, like it looked like he was on the cusp of doing in the bubble, now that puts a team like Denver, now, okay, yeah, that can be a top 2 seed in the West. Because I still think the West is wide open. Even with this trade, even with this Kyrie Irving to Dallas trade, this trade doesn't make me feel any better in regards to, this is now a 2-team conference. No, the Clippers are playing really well. Kawhi is actually playing games. And Kawhi, even though he's bulked up a lot and he's not moving as fast, I don't know if that's just age or rust or a combination of the two. He's still him. You're not just going to push off and leave Kawhi Leonard at this point in his career. He's still good enough to be a upper echelon guard, wing, whatever you want to call him in today's NBA. So when you look at this Nuggets team, all the offensive numbers are off the charts, right? That's clear. Like we see that here. It's a lot of ones, the ones in 3-point percentage, like a lot of free throw attempts a game. Like it's a lot of stuff here where they rank high. Number 2 on assists. We know that's predicated off of Jokic. It's going to be the defense that's going to let me know what type of time they're on in terms of what they can be. They're middle of the road in defensive rating. They're towards the bottom in pace. Is that because they're waiting for Jokic? Are we getting a little bit of a Luka thing here where, well, because so much of the offense, what's Jokic's usage rate? What is Jokic's usage rate? If his usage rate is more than 35, then there needs to be a conversation. Let's find out. 35 is the number I'm looking for. Ooh, 27, but that's low. That's a low usage rate. 27.3. You see where it was last year, 31.9. That's interesting. I'm going to have to keep an eye on that because that's interesting. I'll just leave it at that. That's interesting because for that to be so low and the ball is in his hands so much, I'm wondering if they're just, because he's so predicated on moving the ball, him handling the ball so much doesn't equate to players who just hold the ball and dribble excessively. Like that might need to be a thing I need to look up. How is usage rate calculated? Is it just how many times you possess the rock in a possession, or is it how long you hold the ball in a possession? Because Jokic usage rate should be in the mid-30s minimum. The fact that you're telling me it's 27.3 with the amount of assists he has, isn't he the average like 7-8 assists? He's averaging 10 assists. He's averaging a triple-double. That's interesting. We need to keep an eye on that. Nikola Jokic's usage rate. Add that to the list. So we're going to track Luka Doncic's usage rate, Kyrie Irving's usage rate, and I'm going to keep a special eye on Nikola Jokic's usage rate once I find out exactly how that's tabulated. But there's so much to go over here. So many rumors, so much innuendo. And now these are the teams that are now trying to figure out, now that Brooklyn's made a move, Brooklyn can make another move, right? They could move Kevin Durant. I don't think they will. I don't think they should. They still have the opinion that they can win. So now that brings in Ben Simmons. And we saw the tweet earlier where it said Ben Simmons has 0 trade value around the NBA. Is that a real thing? Is that posturing for, lower trade value? I don't know. I think someone of Ben Simmons' skill set, if he was made available, a lot of teams would be lining up. If you're the Chicago Bulls, you have chips in DeMar DeRozan and or Zach LaVine. What are you doing at the trade deadline? Lonzo Ball, you just have to put him out the pasture and just assume he's not going to come back. Or if he does come back, he's going to be very limited. What do you do if you're the Chicago Bulls and you have assets that, if you're the Lake Show, are you mad at DeMar DeRozan? I mean, DeMar said he wanted to go there in free agency a couple of years ago, and the Lakers didn't really offer him a real contract. That's how you got Russie. That's how you got Russell Westbrook. Because they, for some reason, didn't really reach out or didn't go strong enough towards DeMar DeRozan. DeMar DeRozan openly said he wanted to be a Laker. Do you now trade? Would you give up those 2 first-round picks and maybe a young piece or two? Would you do the same deal that you were unwilling to do for Kyrie Irving, which is the 2 unprotected first-round picks, 2027, 2029? Russell Westbrook and his expiring contract. A combination of Austin Reeves, Max Christie, Scottie Pippen Jr. Would you give all of that up for DeMar DeRozan? Let me know in the comments. Is that something that's worthwhile? Because DeMar comes in, he's a good 3. He's a solid 3. Yeah, still got, I think it should be AD at the 1 in terms of number 1 option, but it's going to be LeBron because LeBron's LeBron. Then you have Anthony Davis as your 2. You have DeMar as your 3. Now, Rui's the 4th option. I like that. I like that a lot. Zach LaVine, I would rather go get DeMar than Zach LaVine if I'm the Lake Show. But I want no parts of Mike Conley. I want no parts of it. You already have, like, if you're going to keep Schroeder and Lonnie Walker, why are you bringing in Mike Conley? I don't get that at all. Christian Wood, if you're the Nets, Joe Harris, I don't think they give up Cam Thomas. Joe Harris, I don't know what else you would have to give up. Christian Wood alongside KD would look pretty good to me. If you're trying to retool and surround Kevin Durant with shooters or guys that can just go get buckets, because now you have to replace almost 30 points a game in Kyrie Irving. And Spencer Dinwiddie is solid, and Dorian Finney-Smith can shoot. He's a 3-and-D guy. But in terms of just getting that output, I don't know if you're going to get that from Spencer Dinwiddie and Dorian Finney-Smith, if they even keep them. They've already said that they could flip Finney-Smith and or Spencer Dinwiddie in another deal. So who knows if those two even stay. I would think if I'm the Nets, I would hang on more so to Finney-Smith than Dinwiddie because of his defensive ability. He can hit he's a 3-and-D guy. He can hit the three and he can play defense. Dinwiddie, I think his best years are probably behind him. I think the peak of his skill set was a couple of years ago when he came onto the scene under Kenny Atkinson with the Nets a few years back. But I mean, he's certainly a guy that can go off every now and then, but I don't know if he's not a number 2 option to Kevin Durant. He's just not. So the Mavs won't do it. I don't think they'll trade Christian Wood to Brooklyn, but that would be a nice piece. Maybe a 3-way trade, find a way to get Christian Wood to Brooklyn. I don't know, but that's a guy I would try to focus on. A lot of teams should be focused on Christian Wood. Not if you need defense. If you need defense, don't go get Christian Wood. If you want a guy that's a stretch big that can hit the three, hit the glass, run the floor, I won't say rim run, but he could do some of that stuff. Yeah, go get Christian Wood. It's amazing. Kevin Love. He's been removed from the rotation. Now, if you're LeBron, you tried to run it back with one of your Cavalier teammates from back in the day. Are you going to try to do that one more time? You failed with one teammate. You failed to get Kyrie Irving. Do you try to go get Kevin Love? Let's see what Kevin Love's been up to. Not a hell of a whole lot. He had a good start to the beginning of the year, but if he's out the rotation, then that kind of should tell you what he's been doing lately. All right, so 8.5 points, 6.8 boards, a couple of dimes a game. I would prefer, he's been cut off the bench. I would prefer to see the game log. Let's get a game log for Kevin Love. All right, let's get a game log. Because it wasn't always all bad for him. Okay, so of late, he's got a couple of DNPs. He's been inactive. He's been playing sporadically. Yeah, he hasn't been getting a lot of run. I mean, you shouldn't even have to give up a pick. You shouldn't even you might have to, though. Because, what if you're Cleveland, what the hell do you want? What do you want for Kevin Love? Or is this a buyout type situation? There's going to be some buyouts. That's another thing we need to be wary of in terms of all these trades and trades. There's going to be a lot of guys that get bought out that are going to become available after the trade deadline. But Kevin Love, I don't know if you give up anything substantial for him, like one of those 2 picks that the Lakers have, but somebody should go get him. And if anyone knows how to play with Bron and knows their role when playing with Bron, it's Kevin Love. Him, along with Chris Bosh, were 20-plus double-double guys, and then they went and played with Bron, and then their numbers took a severe hit. But they got rings out of it. So if you know what to do when you're playing with a guy like Bron, you can win, but you got to be selfless. If you're not selfless, you can't play with Bron. because everything revolves around Bron. That's why he's about to break the scoring record. You take a lot of shots to break that record, bro. As much as we hear about LeBron's offensive, he's like Magic Johnson. No, he likes to score too. he definitely has passing acumen like we haven't seen since Magic, but he likes his buckets too. Magic was a pure facilitator. He didn't really care too much about scoring until he got older and he couldn't get those passes off. Then he became about being a scorer. LeBron has always been about scoring, but okay. This Western Conference, as I wrap it up here, and I appreciate y'all checking in, this is what I do. I come on these live streams. I talk football as well, but basketball is really my forte. I had a podcast on FanDuel a couple of years back, and I do hits on ESPN radio talking basketball and things like that. And I have a podcast, the CMD podcast. The link is in the description where you can subscribe, and I talk a lot of basketball there. And this is my time of the year. As football slows down, we got the Super Bowl and all of that. But once that's done, it's all basketball until about June. Until June, maybe even July, with the way the schedule keeps getting pushed back. But the NBA is going to be in a frenzy. Trade deadline is coming up. I believe that's Thursday. I will be back here later on in the week after the trade deadline to recap all the biggest trades. So if you've been okay, we get some. I'll go to the comments before we wrap it up. Kyrie misses his daddy Bron. I mean, I'm not mad at that. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying you're wrong. I mean, that's certainly a thing. He needs one everywhere he goes, right? He tried to go to Boston. He thought he was going to get it in Brad Stevens. He thought he was going to get it in, trying to train up. He thought he was going to be the daddy in Boston. If we really want to keep it real, Kyrie thought he was going to be the Bron figure in Boston. And once he realized Brad Stevens had an ego, Danny Ainge, the scammer them day out, he had an ego, Tatum and Brown, Gordon Hayward. It was too many guys who also thought they were the top dog, and Kyrie had to get up out of there. Kyrie don't like it if he's not him, or at least number two. And he was not going to be that in Boston. So then, he finds his way to Brooklyn, and he needed his man's KD to pull up so that he could have some power in the organization. Because no organization by itself is going to hand the keys to Kyrie. But if he has LeBron with him, or if he has Kevin Durant with him, then okay, all right, yeah, I'll take your man. It's like, I'll take your sidekick, but I still want you. I want Kevin Durant. But to get Kevin Durant, I got to take Kyrie. All right, fine. But then we've seen with all the nonsense this past season, and even in years past with the vax and all of that, like, all right, maybe he's not worth the headache. And the Nets finally got up out of there. He's not fit to be daddy anywhere. I mean, I agree. He's not. You don't make Kyrie Irving your lead guy. No squad should make Kyrie Irving their lead guy. And I think that's where the league knows. Kyrie's just a guy. At his peak, he's a second option. Probably on a championship contender, if you have a really good team, he's probably better suited to be a third. But for right now, no team is going to entrust Kyrie Irving and hand him the keys. No one's handing him the keys. So he's going to be a number two option, and that's it. That's his peak right now. That's all he is. And Luka Doncic got a lot of work ahead of him because he could ignore Kristaps Porzingis in the post and just go ahead and just do a pick and roll with, Dwight Powell and just ignore Kristaps Porzingis. He can ignore Jalen Brunson, right? Like, especially in the playoffs. He clearly ignored Jalen Brunson. And that's why Jason Kidd had to figure that out and switch it up and stagger their minutes. So Luka and Brunson aren't on the floor together. So when Brunson is on the floor, he can actually get the ball. Okay, Luka's so ball dominant, they had to switch up the rotation of minutes so Jalen Brunson could get some touches. So that's a thing that literally happened. Go back and watch the games. You can look at the game logs and see how the minutes staggered. When Luka was off the floor and Brunson was on it, Brunson was cooking. As soon as Luka came back on the floor, Jalen Brunson took way less shots and was way less effective. Coincidence? I think not. But now, Luka can't ignore Kyrie. He can try, and he probably will because it's such a force of habit, but Kyrie's the type to talk. He's the type to talk in the media. He's the type to talk on the court. We've seen him yell at Ben Simmons on the court, shoot. So Kyrie has no problem saying the thing out loud. So if he's not getting the rock, he'll tell Luka, pass the ball. Kyrie will do that. What's going to happen when Luka does that? What's going to happen when Kyrie calls out Luka for the first time? Now, it's not going to happen game one. It's not going to happen now. Come April, when they get into that rough stretch, when they lose 3 out of 4, when they lose 4 out of 5, and things aren't going well, what's going to happen then? How will Luka handle it? Because apparently they had to clear this trade with Luka. So clearly Luka knows what he's getting into with Kyrie, or so he thinks. Let's go to the comments again. Appreciate y'all chiming in. This really helps me lock in and tap in with what you guys are talking about. Mavs know that team wasn't going anywhere, so the trade for a second All-Star wasn't too much of a risk. But again, still a long shot to win it all. I mean, yeah, I agree with that. I mean, this was as much as it is a high-risk, high-reward trade, it's almost a no-brainer. Because what did they give up? A first-rounder and 2 second-rounders. That's not a lot. A first-rounder and 2 second-rounders for a guy, again, like I mentioned earlier, you're giving up Kyrie Irving, who's an all-star starter, for a first-round pick and 2 seconds? Dinwiddie, Dorian Smith, sure. But that's it? Like, that's not a lot. So it's as much as it's a high risk, high reward in terms of you're taking a gamble, it's a rental. You don't have to sign him if it doesn't work out. But then again, you did give up a first, 2 seconds, and 2 rotational pieces for a rental. So it's like on one side, it's a high risk, high reward. But then low key on the other side is kind of a low risk, low reward, because their odds have gone up slightly in terms of winning a championship. I had the tweet up earlier with Sham. I think they went from plus 1,900 to plus 1,400 to win it all. But in regards to actually getting closer to a chip, because we see it right here. They're a 6 seed. They're a 6 seed right now. If you're telling me I can get an all-star starter and all I'm giving up is a first-round pick and 2 seconds, I'm taking that. All I got to do is lose a 3-and-D guy in Dorian Finney-Smith, who in theory I could replace either in the buyout market or maybe I have somebody on my bench who I could give more minutes to that can kind of fill that role. And Dinwiddie, I'm bringing in Kyrie Irving, who's more of a bucket than Dinwiddie, so I'm bringing in damn near a 30-point-per-game scorer. I'll lose Dinwiddie's size and his lack of ego, but I'm bringing in a guy who could 30-piece anyone in this league at any given time. And I'm a 6 seed. I'll do that. I'll make that move and potentially move up into a top 4 seed, if not higher. That they have a chance where they can get to a 3 seed and even the 2 seed with just a hot 2 weeks if things break right. I still don't believe in the Kings long term. They've played out of their mind. It's not just sneaking up on teams anymore. But I think now with this move, the Mavericks are clearly better than the Sacramento Kings. Clearly. I think they should hang on to Christian Wood. I wouldn't move him. I think there's a way to use him that's effective. I think if you're going to end up staggering Kyrie, he's a guy that can play off Kyrie and Christian Wood. Christian Wood could play off Kyrie really well. He's not KD, but he has some of those skill sets in terms of scoring the rock. I think Christian Wood becomes more valuable to Jason Kidd now that he has a guy in Kyrie that could do that 2-man game and really help him exploit what he actually can do instead of asking him to do stuff like play defense that he's not known to do. Nets came up low-key, good future. Sure. I'm not sure if I believe that 100%, to be quite honest, because what's their future? Cam Thomas? It's a bucket. Like, people are putting up points in the league now, and it's great to see young guys come up and flash and put buckets up. But we also have to realize, like, 30 is the new 20 in terms of scoring. Putting up 30 in the NBA doesn't mean as much as it used to because of rules, because of the scope, the way that the floor is spaced now, and the fundamental push towards shooting from the outside. Like, scoring 30 is like 20. So, yeah, the Nets' future, they came up in terms of they got rid of a headache. It's addition by subtraction, right? It's that old trope. They got Kyrie up out of there, and they were able to rid themselves of that and bring in respectable dudes like Spencer Dinwiddie. I mean, his second go-around with the Nets, but he's a guy that can get buckets. I just don't know if I would want him to be my second option. Like, this year, he's giving you 17. So, you know, he's a guy that's giving you 17 right now. Finney Smith is a guy where you're looking at three-point shooting, 3-and-D guy. He's a guy that shoots 35%. He shot almost close to 40% the 2 years prior to that. So, again, if you're going to surround KD with just a bunch of dudes who can just shoot, this is a solid trade. I don't know how the future gets any better for the Nets, though, because, yeah, they got the pick. They got one first-rounder in a couple of seconds. I guess they could flip a couple of those 2 seconds for other stuff down the line, or maybe potentially have that piece, have that first-rounder in a bigger deal down the line. Maybe you package that deal with Ben Simmons to do something. I don't know. But as of right now, this is a team that is, you know, 8th in defensive rating, 13th in defensive rating, top 10 in net rating overall. They're in the middle of the pack, but towards the bottom in terms of pace. Top 10 in scoring. Top 10 in defensive scoring. I mean, this is a solid team. I think the problem, when you look at the Nets, you're looking at Royce O'Neal. If you're Royce O'Neal, Dorian Finney-Smith is probably what they thought Royce O'Neal was going to be. Dorian Finney-Smith is probably a better Royce O'Neal. But now you're looking at, when it comes to Joe Harris, Seth Curry, these guys are probably going to be available. So unless you're going to gut the roster and go with all youngins, it's going to be KD and a bunch of youngins, if you're going to give Cam Thomas some real run, like if you really want Watanabe to see if he can be something, to be a piece, okay, I'm not mad at that. But I think with this roster, you're looking at a lot of vets and a lot of role players who were a fit with two guys who can go create their own shot, like a Kyrie and a Kevin Durant. Now, with no Kevin Durant, with no Kyrie Irving, I don't know how Joe Harris is as a guy that now moves up, assuming they keep Joe Harris. Dinwiddie and Joe Harris, I don't know. You know, Dorian Finney-Smith and Joe Harris, I don't know. Watanabe, I think, has looked good at times. Cam Thomas has definitely flashed. So I'm not mad. Like, if you're telling me now Cam Thomas is going to get the Kyrie minutes, or him and Dinwiddie will make up what Kyrie left behind, I'm not completely against that. I'm not saying it's impossible. I just wonder for the future, there's a lot of old dudes on this roster. If you're trying to begin the process of rebuilding, which clearly, you know, they're on the cusp of, because you can't imagine Kevin Durant staying there long now. You can't really see a scenario where Kevin Durant finishes out his deal there. Let's go back to the comments. Some of the numbers are empty. I think if the Nets decide to keep AD, they should trade a few wings for bigs to a team like Orlando, who has a bunch of Yeah, I mean, Orlando's got a bunch of bigs, and Orlando is certainly a team that, if you look at that roster, they can really, they have a lot of everything, to be honest. The Orlando Magic have a lot of wings, and they have a lot of bigs. They have a lot of point guards. They've been stockpiling all their picks. So let's go through this here. I don't think you move Bol. He's actually played well. Paolo Banchero is the Rookie of the Year. Mo Bamba probably will be traded. If you look at what he did over the weekend with the whole thing with Austin Rivers, the king of Orlando. Let's put some respect on the king of Orlando, Austin Rivers. But Mo Bamba, I mean, I've heard things in regards to RJ Hampton. So RJ Hampton and Mo Bamba are the most likely to be dealt. But if I'm Orlando, everyone's available except Bol Bol and Boncharo. Everyone's available. Whoever. Wendell Carter, sure. Fultz, sure. Like in the right deal, sure. All of them could be gotten. All of them could be gotten if I'm Orlando. So if you're the Nets, and I tell you everyone but Paolo and Bol Bol are available, I mean, Mo Bamba coming home, since he's from Harlem, I don't know if that would mean anything. He hasn't really shown. He got drafted by the wrong team. The Bulls were in the mix to try to get Mo Bamba. He went, I believe, one spot before to Orlando. Mo Bamba hasn't shown me enough to where I don't know what I'm giving up for Mo Bamba. Like, I'm not giving up too much. Maybe that second round pick, maybe one of those second round picks that I got for Kyrie. Sure, I would throw that to Orlando for Mo Bamba, but I'm not giving up anything substantial. If you're trying to sell me on RJ, I would probably want Jalen Suggs as opposed to RJ, but I'm not mad at that either. So yeah, Orlando's a team that Orlando should be players at the trade deadline. The problem is I don't know if that front office is savvy enough to be able to get that off. No, Isaac is here. He's at the bottom. Isaac's here. He's just all the way at the bottom because he hasn't played in a minute. So he's there. He's there. If a website has the roster right, it is always going to be Basketball Reference. But Isaac, has he played yet? No, I know he was on the cusp of coming back. But has Isaac actually played a game yet? Oh, he's played 6 games. Okay. So he's just getting his feet back underneath him. Yeah, Orlando has a lot of pieces. What do you do with them? I have no idea. But I think when it comes right down to it, there's a lot of pieces here that you can move. I just don't know what you want for them because their value obviously is the highest to Orlando and not anyone else. So when it comes right down to it, if you're looking at this from the Dallas Mavericks perspective, the Dallas Mavericks go out here and make a big swing to try to go get Kyrie Irving. They bring him into the fold. This roster now, make sure I get everyone in there now. Okay. Now, obviously, this isn't updated with Kyrie, but in terms of who's left, Reggie Bullock is going to be taking on a lot of the defensive assignments on the wings. I have Mavericks fans hitting me up telling me that Tim Hardaway Jr. is probably next to go. So if you want a guard, I don't know what Tim Hardaway Jr. is at this point in his career, but he's a piece that allegedly is available. So Christian Wood and Tim Hardaway Jr. are allegedly guys that most likely are being talked about as we get closer to the trade deadline. Are those guys something you think could be valuable to any team? Any team that's trying to win. Is any team a Tim Hardaway Jr. away? Probably not. Christian Wood away? Maybe. But Davis Bertans, that was such a good move. Even though I liked Porzingis with Dallas, Davis Bertans coming back in that deal, he fits perfectly with Luka. Just a guy who just wants to stand in the corner and shoot threes all day. That was a sneaky part of that trade. That was extremely valuable. Everyone looked at Dinwiddie in that trade, but the fact that they got Bertans on a throw-in, pretty smooth. So the Mavericks are looking up here. Mavericks are looking up. If you're the Nets, you're a 4 seed right now. You lost your second best player. Your best player is on the mend on the way back. Ben Simmons is an enigma, and who knows if he makes it to the week as a Brooklyn Net. Cam Thomas flashed. Does he have enough? I don't know. There's a lot of guys here. I would like to see more from some of these youngins that they've been stockpiling. I've talked about, where is he? Day'Ron Sharp. Dust him off. Give him some run. Give him some minutes. Nick Claxton. He's a guy that could be available. There's reports of Nick Claxton being in. damn near everyone's available. Let's just go ahead and get that out the way. Rumors are abound about damn near every player in this league. So anyone can be gotten. Anyone could be traded for in this league. So I'll probably wrap it up there. I appreciate y'all for pulling up. I do this a lot. So if you haven't been able to subscribe, tap in. Let me just check the comments one more time. Another route for the Nets could be trade KD to a team like Portland for Grant, Simons, and Watford. All right. See, now you're going to make me go to Portland now. All right. Let's go to Portland. Let's go to Portland. Let's see if this is something that's feasible. Grant, Simons, and Watford. All right. I hate how they take you to the team thing first. All right, let's go. Let's get this up here. Obviously, Jeremy Grant's the centerpiece there. Simons, I mean, I'm sure the trade machine probably would make that work. I don't know if I'm Brooklyn. Man, that's really breaking it down. That's really tearing it all down. And I'm sure Dame would love that. I mean, he finally get to play with someone that's better than him. I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at that. I think if you're Brooklyn and if that's what you could get, I would prefer some picks as well in that deal. Any deal for Kevin Durant, I want picks. But if you're also giving me Anthony Simons and Jeremy Grant and you're throwing in Watford, I'm not mad at that. I might swap out Watford for Nasir Little, although I think he got paid, right? I think he recently got paid, so salary-wise, that might not work. But yeah, if I'm Portland, I do it. Anything to try to convince Dame not to ask to be traded. Dame's talking that good talk about, wanting to grind until he gets to his wit's end. I mean, it's his 10th year in the league. If I'm the Lake Show, I'm just saying, if I'm the Lake Show, Lakers fans have convinced me that every star in the league wants to be a Laker. It's just a matter of time. So they've convinced me that now that, the Kyrie thing didn't work out, that Damian Lillard is now the one that the Laker Nation is now locked in on. So we'll see. But I think if you're the Nets and if you can get Jeremy Grant, he's played well. 21 points. We round up 20.8. 24-4-2. He's a good wing. I don't know if he's a 3-and-D. But he's a good player. Like he's really worked himself into being a good player. 41%, 41.5%, we round up. 42% from three. That's nothing and he's taken a good amount of them as well. He's really worked himself into being a good player. I didn't like him going to Detroit, but he clearly needed that to be able to be the guy and take the shots. Look at the shot jump that he had when he was finding his way with the Nuggets, and he kind of flashed as like a super sub. And then he was able to go to the Pistons and go get number 1 or number 2 option type shots and still produced. And that's what led to him getting the bag with Portland. So I'm not mad at that if the Nets begin to rebuild and take their losses with having Jeremy Grant at your number 1, because clearly you're trying to rebuild. If, Anthony Simons and Jeremy Grant are your number 1. So I'm not mad at that. But I would hope, I think the Nets are going to try to build around Kevin Durant. And if that's the case, I think you try to go get a Jeremy Grant, maybe with a Ben Simmons. No, not Simons. Yeah, go get Jeremy Grant with Ben Simmons. If I'm the Nets, I think if you could get a pick in Jeremy Grant and whatever other ancillary stuff just to make the deal work, I would make that deal in a heartbeat if I'm the Nets, because clearly Ben's not working. I think his skill set is still top tier, but it just is what's between his ears is the problem, or maybe what's in his chest, pumping blood, is what the issue is there. But skill set wise, he's him. So if I can sell another team on his skill set and get a Jeremy Grant who maybe isn't as talented but is a harder worker and right now is just producing better, and surround that with Kevin Durant, I would do that. I think Jeremy Grant. Now, why Portland would do that, I don't know. But again, Portland is down there. Portland is only 2 games ahead of the Lakers in a loss column. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this goes here. I can't wait for the trade deadline. I will be right back here. So I appreciate y'all hitting up the comments. I enjoyed this live stream. It's probably one of my more active live streams in terms of comments. So always good to go back and forth. Subscribe if you can. I really do appreciate that, and tap in because more NBA content. This is my time of the year where I can really get into this NBA bag and bring you this content. So appreciate y'all for listening and watching, and I'll catch y'all very, very soon. I'll be back at the end of the trade deadline to recap all the moves. I'll be right back here. So subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch y'all again next time. Peace.